Just last week, I received this message from a subscriber. He said, "So if I open an LLC with the help of a formation agent like BuyZ to do e-com dropshipping, because I'm a non-US person located in Panama, I won't be taxed by the US? I would only be taxed by my home country." If you reside in South Africa, Dubai, Panama, or anywhere outside the US, and you keep running into the same frustrating problems. Payment processors keep rejecting your transactions, clients hesitating when they see your non-US business, and that painful 30% tax withholding eating into your profits. You need to watch this video from beginning to end. Legal disclaimer. Nothing in this content should be construed as legal advice. Please consult a qualified attorney for legal matters. These questions flood my inbox daily, and I notice something important. Most of the content out there isn't talking to you. It's not addressing the unique challenges non-US residents face when trying to tap into the American market. That ends today. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to set up a US LLC as a non-resident and potentially pay zero US federal income tax, all while gaining the credibility and infrastructure of a US business. And yes, this is completely legal. Before we dive into the how-to, let's make sure we're on the same page about what a US LLC actually is. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. It's not like a corporation, and that's actually a good thing for non-residents. An LLC is what tax professionals call a disregarded entity or pass-through entity. This is crucial to understand. The LLC itself doesn't pay taxes. The profits simply pass through to the owners. For Americans, this means they report their LLC income on their personal tax returns. But for you as a non-resident, that's where the magic happens. The US tax code, specifically Section 865, defines who's considered a US resident for tax purposes. If you're not a US citizen, don't live there, and aren't a US corporation, then you're classified as a non-resident alien. This status is the foundation of why this strategy works. So the US is known as one of the most aggressive tax countries in the world. You might be wondering, why on earth would I want to set up a business there? Let me share something surprising. My own main operating company is a US LLC, despite the fact that I live globally. And I'm not alone. Many successful online entrepreneurs use this exact structure. The reason is simple. While the US is aggressive toward its citizens and residents, it's actually quite lenient toward non-residents who have businesses there but don't operate from within the US. Here's what a US LLC can do for you. When potential customers see a US company name, they instinctively trust it more. Try processing payments through a company registered in India or Nigeria and watch how many credit card companies flag the transactions as high risk. One of my clients from South Africa was seeing almost 40% of his transactions declined before switching to a US LLC structure. Afterward, his acceptance rate jumped to over 95%. Same business, same products, just a different registration. Additionally, you get access to US banking infrastructure, payment processors like Stripe, USA bank account that might not be available in your country, and a business address that doesn't raise eyebrows with potential clients. But the biggest advantage is potentially paying zero US federal income tax while enjoying all these benefits. And that's what we're diving into next. Here's where we need to get into the tax code a bit, but I promise to keep it simple and conversational. The US tax code, specifically Section 864C, defines what's called effectively connected income. This is income that's connected with a US trade or business, which is what's subject to US tax. Section 862A3 specifically says that services performed outside the United States are not considered US source income. Think about it logically. It would be insane for the US to tax everyone in the world just because they have a US LLC registration. That's obviously not how it works. So what makes income effectively connected to the US? You'd need one of these three things. First, a physical office or what's called a fixed place of business in the US. Second, employees or dependent agents working in the US on your behalf. Or third, you personally perform services while physically in the US. If you avoid these three things, and you're running your business entirely from outside the US, your income typically isn't subject to US federal income tax. I can hear some of you thinking, this sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just how the tax code works. The US has a territorial tax system for non-residents, meaning they only tax income earned within their borders. But let me be crystal clear. This doesn't mean you're tax-free globally. You'll still need to comply with tax laws in your country of residence. If you live in South Africa, for example, you'll still need to report your worldwide income there. The US LLC structure simply means you might not owe US federal income tax on that business income. Now, let's get into the practical steps. How do you actually set up a US LLC as a non-resident? First, you need to choose which state to register in. States like Wyoming, Delaware, and New Mexico are particularly popular for non-resident LLCs. Why? Wyoming, for instance, has no state income tax, strong privacy protections, and very low annual fees, around $60 compared to California's $800 minimum tax. I get asked all the time, which state should I choose? Wyoming is often recommended for LLCs, while Delaware is typically better for corporations. Your specific situation might vary, but for most non-resident entrepreneurs, Wyoming offers the best combination of low costs and strong protections. Next, you'll need a registered agent. As a non-resident, you can't serve as your own registered agent because you don't have a physical US address. A registered agent receives legal documents on behalf of your LLC and maintains your compliance status. Services like Northwest Registered Agent or BIZ, formerly IncFile, can handle this for you. They'll provide a physical address in your chosen state and forward any important documents to you. Then you'll file your Articles of Organization with the state. This is the document that officially creates your LLC. You'll pay a filing fee that typically ranges from $50 to $200 depending on the state. After that, you'll need to obtain an EIN, Employer Identification Number, from the IRS. Think of this as a social security number for your business. The good news is that non-residents can apply for an EIN online without needing a US social security number. The application is free, and you'll typically get your EIN immediately. Many people ask me, how long does it take to set up a US LLC? With services like Busy, the process can be completed in as little as a week, though some states process applications faster than others. Creating an operating agreement is also recommended, even if not legally required in all states. This document outlines how your LLC is managed and operated, which can be especially important if you have partners. Opening a US business bank account is often the most challenging step for non-residents. Some banks allow remote account opening, though you may need to work with specialized providers. This is another area where services like BIZ can help, as they often have relationships with banks that work with non-resident business owners. Finally, you'll need to maintain compliance. Even if you don't owe US taxes, you'll still need to file an annual report in most states, pay state annual fees, and potentially file certain IRS forms. One question I get frequently is, should I own the LLC personally, or should my home country company own it? This is an important consideration. For maximum protection and cleaner accounting, it's often better to have your home country company own your US LLC rather than owning it personally. For example, if you're that entrepreneur from South Africa I mentioned earlier, you might want to set up a South African company first, then have that company own your US LLC. This creates a clear separation between your personal and business assets and can offer tax advantages depending on your specific situation. Let me tackle some other questions I get asked all the time. Do I need to physically visit the US to set up my LLC? No! Everything can be done remotely with the right service provider. If I have US clients, will I owe US tax? Not necessarily. Having US clients doesn't automatically create a US tax liability if you're performing services from outside the US. What about sales tax? Sales tax is completely separate from income tax. If you're selling physical products to US customers, you may need to collect and remit sales tax based on where your customers are located. Services like Quaderno can help automate this. What about withholding tax on YouTube or Amazon royalties? This is different. Royalty income from US sources like YouTube ad revenue is subject to withholding tax, typically 30% unless reduced by tax treaties. The LLC doesn't shield you from this specific type of withholding. Should I own the LLC personally or through my home country company? For maximum protection and cleaner accounting, it's often better to have your home country company own your US LLC. This creates a clear separation between personal and business assets. Before we wrap up, let me highlight some crucial warnings or disclaimers. 1. This isn't about tax evasion. It's about proper tax planning. Always comply with the tax laws in your country of residence. 2. Don't have US operations. Remember, having employees or a physical presence in the US changes everything. 3. Stay compliant with filings. Even if you don't owe US tax, you still need to file the required forms. Penalties for non-compliance can be severe. 4. Consider consulting a tax professional. Your specific situation might have nuances that require personalized advice. Setting up a US LLC as a non-resident can be an incredibly powerful tool for your global business. From improved payment processing to potential tax benefits, it's no wonder so many international entrepreneurs are using this structure. If you're ready to take the next step, I recommend checking out BZ for a streamlined LLC formation process. They handle everything from registered agent services to helping with business bank accounts, with no unnecessary paperwork or stress. I've linked their services in the description below. Don't keep hitting walls with your international business. A properly structured US LLC might be exactly what you need to break through to the next level. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more international business strategies. Drop your questions in the comments. I read every single one and create new content based on what you need. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.